I tell myself that, I'm improving, but then you don't feel like you're actually improving, right? You say to yourself, I'm consuming the right things, I'm not wasting time, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing drugs, I'm not drinking, I'm not going out, I'm consuming, but why am I not proceeding further? So you've listened to hundreds of podcast episodes, read dozens of self-development books, maybe even had one or two coaches, and you still find yourself not where you want to be. You still find yourself lost, and you still don't know which direction you're going, which is causing you to still listen to the same episodes and read the same books. Well, you, my friend, are probably stuck in what I like to call the self-improvement prison. I say that because I was in that prison for a very long time. Self-improvement prison is a term that I coined for those that get a dopamine hit from the consumption of self-development as opposed to the actual self-development itself. And the unfortunate thing is most people don't even realize they're doing this. And it's similar to a comfort zone. Oftentimes we don't realize we're in a comfort zone until we actually leave. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and say self-development isn't good. It's actually incredible. It's probably the best thing that's ever happened to me. The issue comes with the overconsumption of self-development with the lack of action that precedes it. Now, we live in an age where there's an abundance of free self-development information out there. You have TikTok, you have YouTube, you have Instagram, you have school, you have tons of other different communities, you have many different groups that you could join. But the overconsumption of it, not realizing how much self-development information we're consuming, is where the trap sets in. We become mere consumers as opposed to practitioners. I'll say that again. We become consumers of self-development as opposed to practitioners of self-development. The problem is it's easy to get caught up, watching all these coaches and gurus and creators, story tell the perfect piece of content. And they do it in a way where you start to envision, your own path to success, similar to the way they're portraying. But there's a sense of satisfaction that they give off from these videos, but that can be deceiving. And that's what gets you trapped in the cycle of just consuming. Now, while it feels good in the moment, the danger lies when you get a dopamine hit and you get a sense of satisfaction from falling in love with the idea of what that self-development information that you've just consumed will do for you, right? And the danger lies of storytelling and dream building without tangible action. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that story building and that dream building in your mind isn't good. It's actually incredible. That's what visionaries are. But without the tangible action, it just stays that. It stays a dream. You got to remember, we dream when we're asleep. We live life when we're awake. It's easy to get caught up in the dreams of this stuff. It's easy to get caught up in the dreams of self-development, but we take action when we're awake. So stay woke. No, I'm just joking. So you're probably thinking, what's the solution? Do I just cut off all these, do I just cut off all this stuff that gives me satisfaction? Do I just cut off all of this consumption of good stuff as in an industry where most of the content is garbage? Do I just cut off the one thing that I enjoy? Obviously not. Continue to do that. But instead, I want you to watch with the intention of learning as opposed to consuming. Take notes. When was the last time you consumed a piece of content and you actually took notes? When was the last time you stopped that video, went into your notes and wrote down what you just learned, and then actually gave yourself an actionable item of tomorrow I am going to implement that, as opposed to just finishing the video, saying you're going to do it and you don't. And again, I can sit here and keep using the word consume and content, but this is no different from podcasts. This is no different from books. Oftentimes we glorify this whole ideology of reading books so quick or reading so many books. But to be honest, I admire the person that reads one book and actually takes action on that as opposed to reading 50 books in a week, because that's nothing to brag about. So going back to it, I want you to understand that consume to study, right? Don't consume for the sake of satisfaction. I think the crucial step is breaking the habit. You break the habit when you're aware of it. When you know better, you do better. So I want you to take the following steps. Firstly, when you find yourself resonating with something incredible, stop what you're doing and write down exactly what you just learned, where you're going to implement it in your life, and what it will actually do for you. I read a quote in the Dan Crow book. In fact, let me go get the book. A closed mind prevents you from receiving the information that will change your life. I read that and I instantly stopped and I wrote it down. I wrote it down in my notes on my laptop and I said to myself, okay, I like that quote. Why do I like that quote? Because I'm a big believer of staying curious. I'm a big believer of not having a closed mind. So the opposite is having an open mind, but not just to information, but to food, to conversations, to people's opinions, to religions, to cultures, to everything, right? I want to remain open-minded to everything because, like the quote states, read it again, a closed mind prevents you from receiving the information that will change your life. So the opposite is an open mind helps you receive the information that will change your life. So in my head, I was like, if I keep an open mind, I'm going to somehow receive some sort of information, some sort of knowledge that will keep pushing me in the direction that I want to go. So I said to myself, how can I implement that into my daily life? Okay, so tomorrow I'm going to keep an open mind and I'm going to watch 3 videos on YouTube that I don't usually watch on subject matters that I don't usually partake in. That's number 1. Number 2, if I hear or see something in my everyday life that I'm unsure about, that somebody's doing or something that somebody said, just question them. Question them from a place of, I would like to know, right? It gives them the opportunity to explain. It makes them feel good about, oh, I know the answer to this, and this person's curious, so they feel of value. It also gives you the information of this person's perspective on that subject matter, which is, when you think about it, completely unique, because 2 people could live completely different lives, have gone through completely different things, have had different educations, different upbringings, different cultures, and they could both teach you something on the same subject matter but have completely different perspectives on it. So that's why it's crucial to take notes and to implement them into your daily life and ask questions of, how will this benefit me? How can I use this in my everyday life? The reason it's crucial to actually take the note of it as opposed to saying you're just going to do it is because that initial action sets the tone for real life application. You see, when you revisit these notes, it reinstates your commitment for change, because how much information have you consumed and have completely forgotten about? I know, a lot, because I was there too. The second thing I want you to do when you consume self-development content or self-improvement content or some sort of growth content is, I want you to introspectively analyze what you've consumed and pinpoint if it is actually going to help you, whether it's in your career, whether it's in your personal life, in your relationship, in your finances, wherever, in your growth, in your life, in your journey. Pinpoint where it can actually help you. See, this analysis provides information of the areas that you're neglecting in your life. Because one thing I did wrong, one thing that my weakness was I was consuming too much self-development information in the same areas of development, right? And that becomes our safe go-to zone, right? The podcasts I was listening to, 3 or 4, they were all about the same thing. The books I was reading, overarchingly, were all about the same thing, right? You see, self-development goes beyond just self-development. You can literally read about, personality and you can literally learn about personality traits or analytical psychology or physiology and take that into your real world application, right? Your real world life, because now you can listen and have conversations with people and understand their personality type. Oh, this person is a doer, or this person is a creative person, or this person's a visualizer. And you can adapt to these people, especially if you're in a leadership position for your career. You can adapt your approach and still have the same message. So I found that I was just consuming the same type of stuff and I was getting zero growth. And it's almost like a Band-Aid effect, I tell myself that, I'm improving, but then you don't feel like you're actually improving, right? You say to yourself, I'm consuming the right things, I'm not wasting time, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing drugs, I'm not drinking, I'm not going out, I'm consuming, but why am I not proceeding further? I want you to think of it like you're putting gas in your car and you're putting your foot down on the pedal, but your car isn't even on. So you're like, I've put the good things in, I've got my foot down, I'm ambitious, I'm ready to go, but you don't even have the right keys to the car, right? So I want you to really understand that this self-improvement or self-development prison that you feel like you're in, there is only one guard, there's only one warden, and it's you. And there's only one prisoner, and it's you. And you're the person that put yourself in there, and the only person that can get you out is you. And that's why the second point is just as crucial as the first. The analysis and pinpointing of the areas that you're neglecting in your life, and develop those. I always love using video games as a metaphor. Think of your character. You have strength, you have speed, you have your magic spells, you have strength, you have speed, you have your health, you have your toolbox, your bag, your backpack, your loot bag, whatever. You have your weapons, you have, all this, you have your dexterity, you have all of these traits, and you just keep, every time you level up, which is awesome, you keep putting it into strength, you keep putting it into strength, and you're like, wow, I'm getting stronger. And then one day you come across this boss and you just can't beat this character. You're just like, I've got all the strength, why can I not beat this person? Because in order to beat that boss, you needed speed and you needed health, but you didn't have it. So now you got to go back to the drawing board, right? So I want you to think of it like that, is that sometimes you're consuming all this stuff. You don't need to listen to another podcast. You don't need to read another book. You don't need to, sign up for another guru or another coach, right? You just need to introspectively understand that where in my life and where in my journey am I neglecting certain things, and consume based on those areas. And again, going back to the first point was, once you see and consume a piece of content, a piece of self-development information, write it down, apply it. If you can't find areas to apply it, find an area to apply it. Forcefully think outside the box. And you know what always helps? Saying to yourself, tomorrow I'm gonna apply this on a stranger. Think outside the box, be creative with what you're consuming and put yourself out there. Now you understand what the self-improvement prison is, and when you know better, you do better. And I hope you guys can apply this kind of stuff into your life. Until the next one, peace.